Hey, you want to do an audio check? Or are you gonna trust it?
I don't have my phone. So I can't
Okay,
even
fine.
check it.
Okay.
You don't either. You
Yeah, he
can.
can't send it. Doesn't have his phone. It's probably gonna work. Pastus is working. Okay, so we're learning the Maimer of Ata Tetzave. This is a Maimer that the Rebbe said in Tafshin Mem Aleph, and it's miyusid on the Fidik Rebbe's Maimer V'Kibel HaYehudim, Tafish Pei Zayin. The Fidik Rebbe's V'Kibel HaYehudim is a very, very famous Maimer, and there's actually a very geschmacky Yechidus in Tafshin Mem Dalid, was a Ibriyor, and the Makaber Rebbe, I don't know who he is, he's not from the famous ones, but the Makaber Rebbe came to Yechidus, to the Rebbe. I think it was Yud Beis, Yud Beis or Yud Gimel. It was Yud Beis. It was Yud Beis Adar Aleph, Tavshin Mem Dalid, and the Rebbe told him the story. He wasn't a Lubavitcher. He's not familiar with the story. The Rebbe told him the story of the Ma'amar V'Kibel HaYehudim, and the Rebbe describes how the Fidik Rebbe was then.
It's recorded.
It's recorded. Yeah, you could hear it online. The Fidik Rebbe describes how the Rebbe describes how the Fidik Rebbe was then in Leningrad, right, Petersburg, which the communists renamed to Leningrad, and he was coming to Moscow for Purim Katan, and it was arranged that he should speak in the shul. I'm not sure if it was which shul it was, but it was arranged that he should speak in the shul in Moscow. And when he came to Moscow, so the Gaboim of the shul, who were good people, called the Fidik Rebbe, and they told the Fidik Rebbe, or they probably went to the Fidik Rebbe, and they told the Fidik Rebbe that what was it then? Was it the GPO, the GPU, right? The predecessor to either the Choni. What came first, the GPO, the NKVD, or the KGB came last?
NKVD, no?
Yeah. Stalin Yimach basically, like all tyrants, he got himself a pack of Rottweilers, to kill everybody, but then they became the biggest danger to him. So then he killed them all and installed another, so it started off with the GPO, with the GPO, and then it went to or maybe with the NKVD, and then he killed them all, went to the GPO, and then was the KGB. I think at the time, in 1927, I think it was the GPO, and they came to the Gaboim. This is what the Gaboim are telling the Fidik Rebbe. They told they told the Fidik Rebbe that he should know that he came now to Moscow. Moscow is the capital of the communist regime, and over here they're not going to play any games. They're going to have people in the crowd, and they're going to be paying attention to what the Fidik Rebbe says.
This is right after he came out of jail.
No, before. This is before. It's a few months before.
Oh, it's before. Yeah.
And if he's going to speak in a good way, then good. And if not, there are going to be consequences. And they begged the Fidik Rebbe to rein in, what he's going to say. And the Rebbe says this way. The Rebbe says that the Fidik Rebbe hat sich zugehört zu alles, was sie haben gesagt. Und zum Sof hat gesagt, ich will tun wie bei mir kommt es. He listened to them very nicely. He heard them out. And at the end, he said, I'm going to do what I think I should do. And the Fidik Rebbe said the Maimer of the Kibel HaYehudim, which is a fiery Maimer. He said it in a fire way, and it's a fiery Maimer, where the Fidik Rebbe tells the Chassidim they should go on Mesiras Nefesh. I don't know if I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I believe that the Fidik Rebbe said they shouldn't think about not themselves, not their family. They should go like other Yidden who jumped into the fire, and they should do everything they could for the chinuch of the children. In Pi'elim v'yenkim Yisat Ta'ez, the Fidik Rebbe discussed that pasuk in that Maimer, and they should go on Mesiras Nefesh for their own children, chinuch, and they should go on Mesiras Nefesh for the chinuch of Jewish children in general. And the Fidik Rebbe said that it was always true throughout history that whenever a tyrant stood up against the Yidden and tried to destroy them, he always started with the children, and that's what the Fidik Rebbe quotes from the Medrash. And this is one of the Kibel HaYehudim Maimer that this Maimer is miyusad on, is founded upon. That Haman Rasha said that when I'm going to start with my decree, I'm going to start with the children. The Fidik Rebbe said the same thing now in our times. And the Rebbe tells the Makaber Rebbe that a few months later, when the Fidik Rebbe was arrested, so they showed him in the documents where they were accusing him, they pointed out the things that the Fidik Rebbe said in this Maimer of the Kibel HaYehudim from the informants who were there in the crowd. And this Rebbe says in another sikha, the whole accusation, the primary thrust of the indictment of the Fidik Rebbe is that he takes children before they're 18 years old, 20 years old, before they have a chance to think on their own and to decide what they want to be and what they believe in and what they don't believe in. And he indoctrinates them into being believing Yidden. And that was the whole accusation. And this Maimer, the Kibbutz HaYehudim, where the Frierdiker Rebbe spoke about the chinuch of Yiddish kids, was part of the evidence, so to speak. And it was one of the factors that caused the Frierdiker Rebbe to be arrested. So it's a very famous Maimer, the Kibbutz HaYehudim, and it talks about Mesiras Nefesh. Now, when the Rebbe finishes telling the Makaber Rebbe the story, the Rebbe says that was in those days when you had to have Mesiras Nefesh b'Poel Mamish. These days, Baruch Hashem, we're living in a Medina Shel Chesed, and you don't have to have Mesiras Nefesh b'Poel Mamish, but you have to, disregard any opposition that you have. And when you disregard the opposition, you see that the opposition wasn't as strong as you thought in the first place. So, what's this Mesiras Nefesh that the Frierdiker Rebbe was talking about in Russia? That we all understand. Yeah, he was talking about that if you make a cheder, or if you don't send your children to the public schools, so the government is going to come, they're going to arrest the person. If he's lucky, he'll get sent to Siberia. But if he's not lucky, he'll be killed over there in the local prison. And taka, tens of Hasidim or hundreds of Hasidim were killed. Many of them we don't know when their yard site is, where they were buried, or anything like that. But the Rebbe says in our times we don't need Mesiras Nefesh b'Poel. We need some other type of Mesiras Nefesh. What's this other type of Mesiras Nefesh that we need? What's Pshat Mesiras Nefesh in America? So this the Rebbe discusses in this Maimer. What's Mesiras Nefesh in our times? And everybody knows, of course, that the Maimer of Atat Tetzaveh is the last Maimer that the Rebbe was Magia, that the Rebbe edited for publishing. And the Rebbe stood for hours and handed this Maimer to all the Chassidim who came. And we look at this Maimer as something special, because the Rebbe was obviously giving us ammunition and preparing us for the time that's going to be after Chav Zayin Adar, where we can't hear the Rebbe give us instructions, and we have to connect to the Rebbe, and we have to be the types of people and do the type of avodah that the Rebbe wants us to do. And this Maimer speaks very much about that. So it's a very fundamental Maimer. It's a Maimer that speaks to our main goal and our main purpose in our times now, so that we could bring Mashiach. What type of an avodah we have to do, what's needed of us, and how the Rebbe helps us do that avodah. So with that introduction, we'll start the Maimer. The Rebbe said the Maimer on the Parsha of Atat Tetzaveh and that Shabbos, but it's based upon the Maimer of the Kibbutz HaYehudim. So let's start. It says in the beginning of Parshas Tetzaveh, Atat Tetzaveh b'nei Yisrael v'yikrei lech Hashem en zayis zoch kasis lamoir lahalis ner tamid. The Eibishter is speaking to Moshe Rabbeinu, and he tells him that you, Moshe, should command the Yidden, they should bring to you pure olive oil. It should be crushed for the menorah in order to light an eternal candle or a constant flame. And it's known that the Yukim in this. I believe these are from the Tzemach Tzedek, and then Tzemach Tzedek actually brings these diyukim from one of the Talmidim of the Maggid. That the Bechol Hatzivim Shebetera Nemar Tzavas B'nei Yisrael L'Kayetzer B'zeh, all over in Torah, when the Eibishter tells Moshe Rabbeinu to command the Yidden, so the Eibishter tells Moshe Rabbeinu Tzavas B'nei Yisrael, or similar expressions. The Kan Nemar, but in this pasuk it's unique in that it says V'ata Tetzavas B'nei Yisrael, that you should command the Yidden. So why is this different than other places? And the Rebbe adds the hadiyuk mashakasav v'atat tetzaveh huloyach b'halashon elegam b'hateichen. The diyuk of v'atat tetzaveh that you, Moshe Rabbeinu, should command is not only a change from the normal phraseology, from the normal terminology of tzav, but it actually indicates a change in meaning. The lashon v'atat tetzaveh mashma shemoshe hu hametzaveh. When you take the words plainly and you see the words va'ata tetzaveh that you, Moshe Rabbeinu, should command the Yidden, what it sounds like is that it's not the Eibishter giving the command to the Yidden, it's Moshe Rabbeinu giving the command to the Yidden. This doesn't make sense. Moshe is the messenger to give over to the Yidden the command of the Eibishter. So why does it say that you, Moshe Rabbeinu, should command? Which it sounds like that it's not the Eibishter giving this commandment, it's Moshe Rabbeinu giving this commandment. So that's question number one, and with the added point that it's not just a change of lashon, it's also a change of meaning. Gam tzarich lahavin. Furthermore, we need to understand Mashakasav v'yichvelecha. Why does the pasuk say v'yichvelecha that they should take the olive oil to Moshe? Sheyaviu Hashem and LaMoshe elecha the lechura. Seemingly, kiv and sha'alas haneis heisel de Aaron. Since the kindling of the menorah was performed through Aaron, lechura you could add also the preparation of the menorah with the olive oil. Everything that was involved in kindling the menorah. So lama hutzrach lahavi is Hashem and LaMoshe. Why was it important?
Separation is mutter bizarre.
It's mutter bizarre.
I'm not sure.
So could be talking. That's why the Rebbe mentions
Dafka,
the lighting.
the lining has to be done by the kohen, but I think preparation
It's kosher beheaded.
kosher beheaded. I'm almost sure. I'm not 100%.
Good. So that clarifies things. But in any event, the regular seder is that Aaron HaKohen is the one who's responsible for it, and Aaron HaKohen is the one who prepares it, and he's the one who lights the menorah. So why are we bringing it to Moshe Rabbeinu? And not only that, why is it necessary for the pasuk to say v'yikhu elecha? It's like the Torah speaks in a very short lashon. Many halachas are learned from an extra letter. Over here, the pasuk is pointing out specifically that they should bring the olive oil to Moshe. In other words, it's important that the oil be brought to Moshe. What's the importance that the oil be brought to Moshe? Hold on. So you're saying that the Yidden want to be mekusher to the Nasi Hadar, so therefore they're bringing to the Nasi Hadar. Whatever has to happen afterwards.
No, they need the kashrus, the stamp from that.
Okay.
You say you do that in the cushion.
Yeah.
I'm saying the kashrus.
Okay. Gam tzarich lahavin. We also have to understand Mashakas of Shem and Kasis Lamoir, that it says in the pasuk Kasis Lamoir that you should bring the oil and should be crushed for the moir. So what's the moir? The moir b'pashtus is the menorah. It's if you want to say bring it to the menorah, bring it to the menorah. The pasuk doesn't want to say bring it to the menorah. The pasuk wants to say it in an eifin of light, that it's something that it should give light. So if that's what the pasuk is saying, so why are you saying lamoir? It's a strange lashon lamoir to the luminary. If you want to talk about the luminary, say the menorah. Right, but Pash, that's the havana of the question. If you want to talk about the menorah, say the menorah. Lamoir is the luminary, then you have to start touching it's the menorah. You're using a lashon of oir. So say shemen lahar, that the olive oil should be olive oil for lighting, to bring light, to make light. Gam tzarich lavim. We also have the final thing that Rebbe asks is the pasuk shachar is an emer avad beiker v'kan nemer alis ner tamid. In the pasuk afterwards, it says that the menorah will be lit me'erev ad beiker, that you light it in the evening and it lights at least until the morning. And over here it says lahalis ner tamid, that it should be a constant light. So Rashi, of course, explains that since it's done on a regular basis, so you could use the lashon tamid, but the diuk still remains. Why are you calling it tamid? Why don't you say that it should be lit on a daily basis, on every evening? Why are you calling it tamid? Why are you calling it constant? In other words, if you're looking in Pnimis Yonim, there's a meaning over here. There's a certain, in the tamid, that it's constant. There's a certain depth and there's a certain concept behind this, and we have to understand what is that. Okay, so we have several questions. We'll count them in a moment. First of all, why does it say va'ata tetzava, which is a change of lashon and also a change of meaning? The second question is, why are they bringing the olive oil to Moshe Rabbeinu? L'chura, they should have brought it to Aaron. Third of all, why does it say shemen lamoir? It should have said lahoir. And the final question is, why, if the menorah was actually lit, the mitzvah is that it should be lit from evening until morning, why does he call it constant? So we have 4 questions over here. Okay. The Frierdiker Rebbe explains in this famous Maimer, like we mentioned before, the history of the Maimer, of the Kibbul HaYehudim, that the Yidden accepted upon themselves everything. We'll see soon the Pirushim of that, which the Frierdiker Rebbe said on Purim, Katan, Tafresh Pei Zayin in Moscow, the Tzivui, Tetzavahu, Tzavsa v'chibur. The Lashon of Tzivui. Tetzaveh is a Lashon of connection and attachment. And now we can understand why it says that you, Moshe Rabbeinu, should connect the Yidden, should attach the Yidden, because Moshe Rabbeinu connects and attaches the Yidden with the Ein Sof. So over here we have already the first point in the Maimer, You should know what's the role of Moshe Rabbeinu. What's a Moshe Rabbeinu? Moshe connects the Yidden and he attaches them to the Ein Sof. And we'll soon see the details in that. Why do you need Moshe Rabbeinu to connect the Yidden? We will see. What does it mean that he connects the Yidden to the Ein Sof? But the first thing is, why does the pasuk say the Ata Tetzaveh, and you should connect, and you should command the Yidden? Because Tetzaveh is also from the lashon of connection. And the deeper meaning, in the Pnimius Yanim, what this pasuk is saying is that Moshe Rabbeinu should connect, should be mitzaveh, connect the Yidden to the Ein Sof. And then the Frierdiker Rebbe continues that through this, that Moshe Rabbeinu gives the Yidden, he's mashpia to the Yidden with what? That he connects them to the Ein Sof. Through this, Moshe Rabbeinu gets something, an added thing that he did not have before. And it's going to be a long brackets, and then we'll get back to the point that the Rebbe is making. Why? Because Moshe Rabbeinu, why does Moshe Rabbeinu need something from the Yidden? Because Moshe and the Yidden, the Yidden are compared to a body. In many places in Gemara and in other places in Torah, they're compared to a kaima shlema, to a body with all the limbs. Moshe Rabbeinu, the Nasi, is the head. And the Yidden, compared to Moshe Rabbeinu, are the regel. So Moshe v'Yisrael dugmas reish v'regel. Like it says in the pasuk, Sheish meis aleph ragli ha'am asher anechi b'kirbei. Moshe Rabbeinu tells the Eibishter that I am amongst a nation of 600,000. And he uses the lashon ragli. Ragli means the feet. In other words, it's a way of saying people. But if we're medayik, he uses, what does he call the people? He calls them ragli from the lashon of raglayim. Why? And Moshe Rabbeinu says that I am amongst them. What does it mean that I am amongst them? That I am part of them, or they are part of me. We are all part of one body. The Kol Yisrael him raglayim de Moshe. All of the Yidden are the feet of Moshe Rabbeinu. U'Moshe, and Moshe Rabbeinu, who are Reish Lehem, is the head of the Yidden. U'K'Moshe b'Adam, and just like we find by a person, Haraglayim melichim es hareish l'makim shareish mitzad atzmeinu yochel lagiel l'sham. The feet take the head to a place where the head cannot go. For example, if the person wants to get something, in his head, he feels that very much he wants to go, he wants to go to a library to find a piece of book so that he could learn something and understand something. Or glad he needs to go to work or to eat something, wants to go to shul to daven. So the head has a lot of things that it wants to do. And the head can't do it on its own. It's dafka the feet that have the ability to bring the head to where it wants to go. So the head is very dependent on the feet to be able to have the things that he wants. And you see it very unfortunately, this point is illustrated when there's somebody who was suffering from some kind of an illness and he can't walk. And it's not pshat that his head is okay and the only problem is that he's unable to walk. If you see such a person, especially if it's new to the person's situation and he doesn't have his ramp and his his electric wheelchair and everything all set up and the aid to take him where he wants to go, he becomes stuck in a place. It's frustrating for the head. It's depressing for the head, the fact that he can't move around. So the head is very dependent on the feet to take them where they go. So it's the same story with Moshe Rabbeinu and the Yidden. Shalidei Yisrael haraglayim de Moshe, through the Yidden, which they are the feet of Moshe. Mitesef ilu b'Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu gets a new, higher level that he didn't have before, something special. This is then the further meaning of the pasuk Ragli ha'am asher anechi b'kirbei, that Moshe Rabbeinu, in the pashtus of the pasuk, is saying that I am amongst them, that I Moshe Rabbeinu is amongst them. So b'taich and Chassidus shalidei Ragli ha'am, dafka through the people who are on the madrega of Raglayim. Nimshach hagilu de anechi b'kirbei shel Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu attains the revelation of anechi, which is the highest revelation of the Eibishter within himself, but that happens dafka through the nation, dafka through the feet. Okay, so we have this idea that through this, that Moshe Rabbeinu gives a hashpah to the Yidden adds something to Moshe Rabbeinu. And with this, the Frierdiker Rebbe explains the end of the pasuk, or the continuation of the pasuk. Now we can understand why the pasuk continues that they must bring this olive oil to Moshe. How does he teach it? Through this, the Moshe Rabbeinu connects and attaches the Yidden to Ein Sof. Ali Deze Yaviu Bnei Yisrael Shem and Zayis L'Moshe. So now via Lecha that the Yidden bring pure olive oil. V'yikchoi Lecha she'yisifu teisves Eir B'Moshe Rabbeinu. The Yidden add a new light to Moshe Rabbeinu.
They bring the chayes to Moshe, or Moshe gives, and then Moshe gives them back,
No.
or it's punkt
It's punkt verkehrt. As the Lashon, he says also earlier in the beginning, so first look what Moshe Rabbeinu is Mashpia to the Yidden, and then Moshe gets a Safa. Yeah. Okay, so we're starting to get an idea over here of what this pasuk is talking about. This pasuk is talking about the Nasi Hader, the leader of the generation, connecting the Yidden to the Eibishter. We still have a lot to understand of what that means. And that the Yidden add back to the Nasi Hader. They add back to the Moshe Rabbeinu, and they do for the Moshe Rabbeinu what the Moshe Rabbeinu on his own cannot do. So there's something that Dafka the Yidden must do that Moshe Rabbeinu cannot do. So Levarze. So let's start understanding more about this. Makdim b'hamaymer Shemoshe Rabbeinu is called Raya Mehemne. Moshe Rabbeinu is called in the Pashat Pshat the faithful shepherd. The Shnei Pirushim Bezeshu Raya Neman Shel Yisrael. That Moshe Rabbeinu is the Raya Neman, is the faithful shepherd of the Yidden. I believe that he brings over there from the Medrash where Moshe Rabbeinu, I may be mistaken, but where he brings in the Kibbutz Yidden from the Medrash where Moshe Rabbeinu was chosen by the Eibishter, because when he let out, either it was because Moshe Rabbeinu, but with the idea of Raya Mehemna. If it was David HaMelech or with Moshe Rabbeinu.
When the sheep ran
No,
away,
I think he brings a different medrash, where either was Moshe Rabbeinu or David HaMelech, that when he used to take the sheep out to pasture, so first he used to let out the old sheep before the other ones went, so they should have the softer grass because they don't have teeth anymore, the softer grass to chew on. And then he would let out the younger sheep, so they should have, the next part down in the grass that's not so tough, but it's not as soft as the leaves that are on the top. And then then at the end he brought out, the young adults, that they should eat, nearly from the roots because they could handle it. He took care of the needs of every single one. So that's a faithful shepherd. You're also saying the other story, which may very well be part of why we call it a Moshe Rabbeinu Raya Mehemna. Because when did the Eibishter choose Moshe Rabbeinu and say that you are the right person to take care of my people, was when Moshe Rabbeinu was a shepherd, and one of his sheep ran, a young sheep that couldn't survive on its own, ran away. And Moshe Rabbeinu chased it, I believe, for 3 days. I think he ran after it until he came to Har Sinai. From Midian, the snare was back where Har Sinai was going to be, and where the Yidden were going to get the Torah. He ran after it for 3 days, all the way from Midian, where he was shepherding the flock of his father-in-law, Yisrael, just so that the sheep shouldn't suffer. And when the Eibishter saw that dedication, so he said, "You're the right person to lead the Yidden." So that's the first touch, that he takes care of the Yidden. He takes care of the Yidden. He's a faithful shepherd. You see the same idea in a king also. A king takes care of his people. Shmuel and Nabi took care of the Yidden, for example. Right, when Shaul met him, what did he want to know? He wanted to know where his donkeys were. He had donkeys, and they disappeared on him, and he couldn't find them. That's saying this. And he came to Shmuel to ask him where he could find them, because Shmuel was a Navi. So you see over the idea of a Nasi Hader, of a leader, is Pashtar Raya Mehemna. He's a faithful shepherd. Even in Gashmistic things, he takes care of his people, and of course, much more so in Ruchnistic things. But the second taich and the primistic taich is v'shehu mefarnes Yisrael b'inyan emunah, that the Moshe Rabbeinu feeds and provides for the Yidden emunah. So he's a raya, he's a shepherd. He's not a faithful shepherd. He's a shepherd of faith. He shepherds faith. He brings faith to the Yidden. And this immediately requires a lot of understanding. What do you mean he brings faith to the Yidden? Every single Yid is a chelik lekami mal mamash. Every single Yid is a neshama. There's nothing missing in a Yid. He has a mun in the Eibishter, Mesiras Nefesh. He has a connection to the Eibishter directly, an unbreakable and unshakable connection, B'ni B'cheri Yisrael. So what is the role of the Raya Mehemna, that he has to give faith to the Yid? So he immediately explains it. Because the Emunah sheyeshna b'Yisrael mitzad atzmam, the Emunah that Yidden have on their own, without the work of the Nasi, without the work of the Rebbe, which, as we know, Shisol, Hey Ma'aminim, B'nei Ma'aminim, the Yidden are believers, the sons of believers. In other words, it's in them, in their DNA for generations, and it's their inheritance. Even if they did nothing, they are Ma'aminim by the fact that they are a Yid. Nevertheless, what could be missing is Efshar Shetiyah B'Vchinas Makif. It's possible that this faith, this emunah that the Yidden have, will be B'Vchinas Makif. What does it mean that it's B'Vchinas Makif? So again, going back to the Maimer V'Kibel HaYudim of the Frierdiker Rebbe, the Frierdiker Rebbe over there brings the famous Gemara of Ganva Pumachtarta Rachmana Karya, that a thief, when he's standing outside at the entrance to his cave, to his hiding place, and he's setting out to do his work of the day. What's his work of the day? To do an Aveda, to steal. It says in the Torah, you're not allowed to steal. You're not allowed to steal. And he's standing ready to set out for a day of work, and he asks the Eibishter that he should give him success in his work. The Frierdiker Rebbe says, "L'chora, this is something that's it's baffling." I don't think the Frierdiker Rebbe says it's comical. I think the Frierdiker Rebbe says it's baffling, but to me, I find it pretty comical. He's standing over there, and the Frierdiker Rebbe explains that he believes in the Eibishter. He obviously believes in the Eibishter. Otherwise, and he believes that the Eibishter gives people parnasa also. Otherwise, why would he be asking the Eibishter to help him? And nevertheless, at the same time, he believes that even though in the end of the day, the Eibishter has the final say about who's going to get parnasa and who's not, and that's why he's nominating the Eibishter, but still the Eibishter can sich nicht an Eitzah geben to find him parnasa unless he's going to go and steal. There's no other way that he's going to have his bread, that he's going to have his shelter, that he's going to have his clothing if he doesn't steal. Because if you believe that the Eibishter could give him parnasa without stealing, you wouldn't steal. So he believes that the Eibishter is in charge of everything, but when it comes down to the practicalities, to the logistics, over there, the Eibishter already isn't reliable, and he has to go and do what he needs to do. Otherwise, he won't eat. The Frierdiker Rebbe says that this is the idea of emunah b'vchinas makif. Yeah, people touch, and I think it's a very good touch of that it's b'vchinas makif. What's b'vchinas makif? It's not integrated. What do you mean it's not integrated? It's not part of my life. It's something that I know is an absolute truth. There's many things that I know is an absolute truth. I know that the sun is somewhere out, in the sky. What does it have to do with my day-to-day life? It's something that has no relevance. Say it, if the sun doesn't come up, I'll be in trouble. It's a problem for me. But when the sun is there, I don't think about it. It's not part of. It doesn't change anything in what I think in my decision making. The fact that the sun is there. So I don't know if quite to such an extreme, but al derech zeh you could say that emunah is something that a person can have b'chinas makif, but it doesn't influence his day-to-day life. As he goes about his day, and he makes decisions, and he does things or stops himself from doing things, emunah doesn't play a role over here. If it comes about an extreme case where somebody wants to take away his emunah, so this is not in day-to-day life, where somebody wants to tell him that you should say you're not a yid. The person should say he's not a yid. So then the emunah is going to come and awaken as an exception to the day-to-day life, and then you're going to hear the emunah be effective. But as we go about our regular days, we could be that Ganva Pumachtarte. Yeah, that's how the Frierdiker Rebbe finishes his whole explanation. Before we start laughing at this Ganav right away, the Frierdiker Rebbe says that each one could find within himself how he's also, in a more subtle way, in a more dakistic way, but he's also this Ganva Pumachtarte. So the Yid has unshakable emunah, but the question is this unshakable emunah part of his day-to-day life? Is it part of his thought process? Does he feel it in his heart actively, or is it just something abstract that's there in case we need it? If you ask me, am I Jewish? So then my emunah will be activated. So and this that Moshe Rabbeinu feeds and provides the emunah to the Yidden, what do we mean with this is that this emunah that the Yid has on his own should become real, should become part of him in every way, part of his whole revealed existence. And it's this one line that the entire Maimer is really about. We'll see by the time we get to the end of the Maimer that the Yid has emunah, but it's the job of Moshe Rabbeinu to take the emunah and bring it in to a pnimius. Okay, but there's a long time to get to there and a lot to explain before we can get to there. V'zehu mashkasu b'zeh. And this tak is what it says in the Zohar, that hahi amuna de le'ela yitzin v'yispanis mine al yad chalidei Moshe. That this amuna that's le'ela, this or this higher amuna, this high level of amuna will be fed and provided to the yidden through you, through Moshe Rabbeinu. So what does the pasuk, what does the Zohar mean? In the Asius of Zohar, it's that he's going to feed it and going to provide it to the yidden. What does it mean in the Asius of Chassidus, where Chassidus explains things in ways that we can understand it with our mind, in ways that there are seichel, in a rational way we can understand it, not just in Asius that are more halik, that are more neshamadik. So he explains, that he brings it into a pnimius, as we shall see. The Fidik continues in his Maimed. This that we say that Moshe Rabbeinu is the shepherd of faith. This also applies to the ispashtusa, to the nitzitz of Moshe Rabbeinu in every generation. Which this ispashtus, this nitzitz of Moshe Rabbeinu in every generation is the Rebbe, the Nasi, the leader of that generation. That the heads of the multitudes of the Yidden in every generation, they strengthen the Amunah of the Yidden who live in their times. So what does it mean that they strengthen it? That their Amunah should be active in their day-to-day life and in their entire existence. And the Fidik continues like as we see with Mordechai HaTzadik, which Mordechai HaTzadik was the Ispashtus of Moshe Rabbeinu in his day. That Mordechai in his generation filled the same role as Moshe Rabbeinu in his generation. What was the work of Mordechai HaTzadik? Shegam bisman gzeiras Haman, even in the time of the Gzeira of Haman HaRasha. The mere fact of studying Torah and performing mitzvahs at that time involved Mesiris Nefesh, a danger to somebody's life.
Did they stop them?
They
gave him kosher food.
That was before the Gzeira. After the Gzeira,
after the Gzeira, he didn't let them do anything.
It's not that he didn't let them, but it was a very dangerous time to be a Yid.
Identified
publicly. You have the Medrash of Haman running after Mordechai and him seeing the children and asking them Saikli Psukha, and then that's actually when he said Kshani Maskal Inu Maskal Elu Mehem. It was a time that to stick publicly to your Yiddishkeit was Pasha putting your life in danger, because Haman HaRasha was
targeted.
He targeted the Yidden. He made their blood free. We'll leave it at that. But it was dangerous. So what did Mordechai HaTzadik do at that time? He gathered groups of children in public in order to strengthen their faith in the Eibishter, and not only that, but and to stand strong in the study of Torah and in fulfilling mitzvahs. And Rebbe says in the Sikha, Purim is Purim and Yud Beis Yud Gimel Tammuz are like, by the Rebbe, are like from the big Yomim Tovim. And so you have, and Rebbe speaks over there a lot about Chinuch, about Kopanim. So we have like this. The Rebbe says that what was Mordechai HaTzadik teaching the Tinekis? What was he teaching them? Because we're saying over here, limit Torah, the study of Torah. You could think that Moshe Rabbeinu was busy over there telling them that the Yidden should know what's kosher, what's not kosher, that they shouldn't chas v'shalom stop acting as Yidden, so he was teaching them Torah, they should know what to do. No, that ever brings down from the Gemara, from the Medrash, I don't know from where, that Moshe Rabbeinu was teaching them the halachas of, I forgot, but one of the technicalities in the Beis HaMikdash. Maybe the halachas of Sulei HaMukdashin, or the halachas of something with karbanis. You remember something about it. And then it goes on to describe how surreal this is. Here's a little child. Where are you? You are in Shushan HaBeirah. You're not in the Beis HaMikdash. Even in Yerushalayim, the Beis HaMikdash is not standing. Were we to say that the Beis HaMikdash is going to be rebuilt instantly, and they're all going to be in Yerushalayim, What are the chances that the Kohen in the Beis Hamikdash is going to have to ask this small child, tell me, is this carbon kosher or apostle? Because the Kohen and all the other big Rabbanim, they don't know. So says we see clearly from this that the purpose was limud haTorah. He was teaching them Torah for the mitzvah of the study of Torah, not so they should know what to do. And this is what Moshe Rabbeinu, what Mordechai Tzaddik, the Moshe Rabbeinu and his generation did with the Yidden during the time of Xeris Haman. In other words, not just that their emunah should be strong, that it should be in the open, it should be in every part of their life. They should be learning Torah, they should be fulfilling the mitzvahs also in their day-to-day life. After the Frierdiker Rebbe explains that Moshe and every Jewish leader in his generation strengthened the emunah of the Yidden, he explains, he explains why the pasuk uses the lashon lamoir and not lahoir. Shebizman hagolus, because in the time of golus, when you have kasis, shkol echad ve'echad hu nishbar ve'nitke kasis, the Yidden, every single Yid finds himself in a state of crushness. How do you say it in English? In a state of being in a crushed state. Zerbrochen and zerquetscht. And that's the time when Moshe and his Pashtus Adilei are active and they're working with the Yidden, and over there they strengthen the Yidden that they should hold strong and hold true to Yiddishkeit. Now you have something more than what you have in the ordinary, that you don't only have the oir, you also have the moir, you have the source of light, you have the luminary itself, you have the source of the light. And that's answers the third question in the pasuk of why does it say shemen lamoir and not shemen lahoir? Because we're dealing with a situation of kasis. The pasuk over here is talking about a situation when the Yidden are crushed, and doing Torah and mitzvahs is something that is not natural to the Yid, and he faces challenges. And Chatzon to say that Torah mitzvahs is not natural to the Yid. Torah mitzvahs is the only thing that's natural to a Yid. But it could be that the Yid, because of his Yetzer Hara, finds himself more interested in sometimes in things that are not Torah mitzvahs. He's not in the times of the Beis Hamikdash where everything is Hiseinu Re'inu, everything is clear and you see Elikus. And in that situation, Moshe Rabbeinu works with the Yid to make him a Yid as Evisadaf to sein, that his behavior should be the way a Yid behaves. And through that Aveda, the Yid reaches much deeper than the Yid in ordinary times, which would be Oir, the light which already came out of its source. But in the time of Kasis, the Yid reaches much deeper. He reaches actually the source of the light itself, the Moir. That's what the Frierdiker Rebbe explains in his Maimer. So we have answers over here to why V'ata and why V'yikcho Elecha and why Moir, but we don't know Neir Tamid, why he chooses Neir Tamid. And the Rebbe now is going to add another question to the Maimer. וצריך להבין, השייכות הפירוש בקסיס למויר למבור במאמרס לפני זה, שמוישה ויספשטוס הדילשה בכל דורה, זון ומפרנס הסמונה שתהיה בפנימיus. What's the connection of this idea that through kasis, lemoir, that through kasis, you reach the madrega of moir, the dafka in the aveda of golus. That's when you could reach the madrega of moir. Why does the Frierdiker Rebbe explain this as a continuation of the Aveda of Moshe Rabbeinu to bring the Emunah b'pnimius? The idea that dafka through challenges, dafka through kasus, you reach a deeper level, a higher level than you could without the challenge, without the kasus, is an idea, as a separate idea. From the Frierdiker Rebbe, it's mashma that it's a continuation of the Aveda of Moshe Rabbeinu. When can you have kasus lamoyer? It's not only because of the challenge, it's also because of the work of Moshe Rabbeinu to bring the Emunah in a pnimius. Okay, Mitzvah Hashem will continue next week.